So I just found this out that June 13th, 14th of this year, Iran, they broke through Israel's Iron Dome, which had a lot to do with why we nuked their nuke sites, or why we bombed their nuke sites. Because again, they've said they would use nukes because they do not see Israel as having a right to exist. They've said this for they've said this forever. Which means all being eliminated. But this is how strategic it was, what they did. They managed to get past Israel's Iron Dome primarily through a combination of advanced missile technology and saturation tactics aimed at overwhelming the defense system. So, one, they used hypersonic missiles. Iran used hypersonic glide vehicles like the Fata missile, which can travel at speeds above Mach 5 and maneuver unpredictability during flight. These missiles fly at high altitudes and perform evasive maneuvers, leaving Israel's air defense system, including the Iron Dome, with very little time to detect, track, and intercept. The agility and speed make these missiles difficult to target and intercept effectively. Then they also did saturation attacks. Iran launched a large volume of missiles and drones in concentrated waves, deliberately overwhelming the missile interceptors. When too many threats arrive simultaneously, even sophisticated defense systems struggle to engage all incoming projectiles. The next thing they also did, and this being, all at the same time, decoys and interceptor confusion. Iran forces reportedly used decoy drones and missiles to divert Israeli interceptors. This tactic caused the interceptors to engage with false targets or even friendly interceptors, including confusion within Israel's multi-layered defense system and reducing the effectiveness of the Iron Dome, as well as David's sling and arrow system. David's sling obviously being, it's a little bit more advanced now, but from David and Goliath. The Iron Dome, as well as David's sling and arrow systems. The next thing was limited interceptors and strategic prioritization. Israel has limited interceptor missiles, making it necessary to prioritize protecting key urban centers and critical infrastructure. This sometimes allows for less critical missiles to land in open or less populated areas. Then they also used electronic warfare and radar evasion. There are indications that Iran employed electronic warfare techniques and hypersonic missile features that reduced radar detectability, contributing further to the challenge of interception. While the Iron Dome remains highly effective against short-range, slower, and more predictable rockets, typically fired by Hamas or Hezbollah, it is less equipped to conquer Iran's high-speed ballistic and hypersonic missiles. The overall tactic relies on overwhelming and outmaneuvering Israelis' layered air defense system to successfully penetrate them and strike critical targets. The Iran missile attacks that bypassed Israelis' Iron Dome resulted in the deaths of approximately 28 Israeli civilians, plus one off-duty soldier. These attacks caused over 3,200 people to be hospitalized. The missile strikes also damaged infrastructure, including homes, a school, oil refinery, contributing to the casualties and displacement of around 13,000 people due to serious damage to about 240 buildings. So then that is why we, on June 21st, because that happened on June 13th and 14th. And then we deployed bombing their nukes. I think it was June 21st. Excuse me, I'm yawning. Yeah, it was like June 21st. It was like a week later. So the United States bombed Iran's nuclear sites in June 2025 during the Iran-Israeli war, but this action was not directly because Iran managed to get past Israel's Iron Dome. The U.S. strikes, known as Operation Midnight Hammer, I had read it was. The U.S. operations came after a series of Israeli preemptive strikes on Iran military and nuclear targets. The U.S. aimed to support Israel and diminish Iran's ability to develop nuclear weapons. But ultimately, that's a lot of the reason, because they overwhelm the Iron Dome, because the Iron Dome is only going to help for like Hezbollah, which they're in Lebanon, Hamas obviously in Palestine, and that's where the rockets usually come from that they intercept. These were coming from Iran, and obviously a mass amount of confusion, and it, just as I read. So then that left them open. So we had to go in and do something. Because they've said they've said throughout their history, these hateful Jew haters, okay? They just want to finish what the Nazis started. That's how sick those people are. That's how disgustingly sick they are. While they act like they have a heart, they do not. For 40 years, longer than that, I'm sure, Iran has said that they would eliminate them. They do not. They have said, more than one of their regimes had said on many occasions, they do not have a right to exist. So do you want to turn your back on a country that without us standing by them would be eliminated? You don't have a conscience. So just recognize who doesn't have I know there's a lot of people in society that don't have one, but don't be one of those people. You could see the Young Turks, no conscience. Candace Owens, no conscience. Tucker, no conscience. No brain either, no common sense, but they know what they serve. And just so people are aware, this is all predicted in the Bible, what's gone on there. Zechariah 14 talks about all the nations being gathered against Jerusalem for battle. That's been going on for decades and decades now. Psalm 83 describes a confederation of nations plotting against Israel with the intent to destroy it. These nations include various ancient peoples, often associated with modern nations surrounding Israel. Ezekiel, there is a prophecy about a coalition of nations led by Gog of the land of Magog, which will come against Israel in the latter days. This coalition includes Persia, which is modern-day Iran, and neighboring nations. The passage describes a time when many nations will unite to attack Israel, but ultimately will be defeated by divine intervention. So those nations have been coming up against Israel forever. China and Russia, well, they provide diplomatic support, but I'm sure they provide Iran with more support than that. Obama, of course, was of no help because Obama was funding Iran. So, he was the Antichrist to America. I'm just telling you, he was. Everything points to that. So while everybody waits for the Antichrist to rise, it's like you never sat down to realize that the Antichrist, because Jesus told you how deceptive the beast would be, that the beast already rose. You were living under him. You've been living under it. Now it's time for the divine intervention.